What a great way to start the day. Thank you, Nancy. Hello again. Welcome to the first of two sessions we have today entitled Big Ideas. In the weeks running up to this conference, we asked you, our delegates, to submit ideas that you believed could change theatre for the better. We got dozens of great pitches, and we've chosen 6 who we've invited along to present to you today. Once you've heard from all 6 of our presenters, you'll have a chance to vote on Slido to decide which was your favourite. And I can see from earlier that we've had 183 people respond, so at least 183 of you have managed to use Slido, so well done. So you'll have a chance to vote later. We'll announce the winner at the end of the day, and then we'll look to develop that idea over the next 12 months before bringing back a fully developed presentation at next year's conference. I'd like to invite our first Big Ideas presenters to the stage. They are Professor Marco Thomas and Chloe Sharland. There will also be a recorded presentation from Sean Dawes. Mark and Chloe, please join me. Great, thank you very much. So after each of the speakers has spoken, you'll have a chance to ask a question or two of each speaker. If you're in the room, please put up your hand if you're happy to stand up and speak, or post to Slido if you'd rather not. And if you're online, you can use Slido to post your questions. So first up, we have the principal of Lambda, Professor Marco Thomas, who will talk about his idea for free actor training. Mark.
Hi everyone, I'm happy to be here this morning. I want to say thank you first of all for the stage and all the sponsors for hosting today's event. It looks like an amazing program. I've come to speak very much to the theme of the whole day, actually, the future of theatre. And I want to think about what is the future. Alistair told me I've only got 5 minutes, so I will try to be as quick as possible. And so I have 5 minutes to save the future of theatre, which sounds a bit like Liz Truss's book, 48 Days to Destroy the World. So I'm really thinking about who are the future of theatre? Who are these people? And what is the UK and theatre known for internationally, principally? What is our sort of world-leading recognition as we speak to people from around the world? And that's a huge problem, and I want to talk about that, first of all. That we know that over the past 10, 15 years, it seems like not a month goes by and the stage will run a story about yet another drama school is closing. Most recently, of course, we saw the demise of Aura. And there's a reason for the closing of those British drama schools. Some great British drama schools that have closed down is just because the way that we work is completely uneconomical. It's widely recognised that the funding of higher education in this country is completely broken, but no government is really facing up to that problem. It's what's famously known as a wicked problem, which could be defined as something for which there is no simple solution and governments don't really want to engage in thinking about because there aren't really any votes in it for them. Nick Clegg being a case in point where it all ended very badly. So alongside that funding problem, it's a much repeated cliche, but it's still very true, that while talent is randomly distributed across the population, opportunity certainly isn't. Drama schools have gone a long way, particularly in the United Kingdom, to expand their provision and to reach out to all different quarters and to fund students, for example, to come to auditions and to make the process as level as possible. And for some time we've heard discourse from government that the student fee system has not been a barrier because the number of students has actually increased. But there's been some very interesting research quite recently where they actually spoke to people who chose not to go on to study in higher education, rather than those that have. And many of those cite the cost as being the reason why they've decided not to study, and particularly in the conservatoires, which is a very, very physically, emotionally and educationally a different proposition from perhaps studying 9 or 12 hours a week on a university drama course. We work intensively, 35 hours, 40 hours a week with our students. It's always going to be a loss leader. We're never going to get enough money ever to cover those kinds of costs. And we know that the central government has actually had active campaigns against that area. You know, you'll remember Fatima's next job in cyber, trying to put young people off going into those professions. So, what is the big idea? For us, in places like Lambda, where we audition students from all over the world, and we want to make the opportunity as level as possible from all over the world, the context in which we work has fundamentally changed over the past 2 years. Our main competitors for students are places like Yale and Juilliard and Old Globe, and they are now offering students zero tuition. They've gone tuition free. That is not something that we can do here in the UK yet, but my big idea is that we should offer all drama students in our drama schools tuition free. Zero tuition, and make it a completely level playing field no matter where those students come from in the world. How are we going to achieve that? I would propose that we would have a public-private endowment, which is the way it's actually funded in the US. We would need to radically change the tax system here in the way that the United States does, which actually facilitates people to give money to worthy organisations and arts organisations rather than actually makes it a fundamental problem for them. And this public-private endowment would be enough to fund students from all over the world. For example, at Yale, the David Geffen Foundation has set up a $150 million endowment, and that funds every student in the drama school, not just the acting students, but everyone. Juilliard have a $15 million endowment, and that is funding, just from the interest, is funding students, the 18 students that study on its MFA acting program. It's completely possible. We need to be bold in our thinking. We need to think about what were people saying in 1945 when the NHS was posed as a solution to the health crisis that was taking place. People said it would never work, but it can work. If we get behind it, we work with partners, with our industry partners, and a government that actually wants to embrace what the treasures that the UK has in its theatre, we can have a really amazing future for our young people and ensure that there is real equity for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Great stuff. So, we're running a little bit over, so we're going to have time for one question. We're going to try to see if anyone in the room would like to ask a question. Any follow-up questions? Gentleman in the front row.
Hi there. My daughter did a theatre course at a place I think is the best school in the world, no disrespect to Lambda. Brits, which is funded by the music industry, and in terms of the talent they produce, that's well recognised. But what you can't bottle is the joy, the passion that place instills in the students. It's like, we're just spending a couple of hours there, it's like a shot in the arm. But as a model that's already existing, I know that in Liverpool you've also got...
Can we have the question, please?
Yeah, but the models are here.
Yeah.
And most conferences, people are talking about AI. Forget about that. This is where the future for so many young people is, in work that cannot be replicated by robots. There we are. Not really a question.
Wow.
I'm raising the flag for the Brits.
I agree, and Lambda takes many students from the Brit School and from other schools, and we have amazing schools here like RADA, Guildhall, Central, etc. I completely agree, but we have to face up to the fact that student funding in the UK is fundamentally broken, and we will see further closures of drama schools unless we do something radically about that problem. And that would be a huge loss to us all.
Thank you, Mark. Next up, we have Chloe Charland, who is a freelance theatre director, and she is going to present her idea for an artist-to-artist marketplace. Thank you.
Hello. I'm here today to talk about a project that connects theatre makers in order to make producing theatre more affordable and more sustainable. In summary, it's a Vinted for theatre. Especially for newcomers, producing live art can be frustratingly expensive. I know that many people sitting here today will have had experience creating shows on next to no budget and asking favours, going through charity shops, scrolling for hours on eBay, just to scrape together the resources they need in order to get that show on the road. And that may not be a problem that you or your organisation face now, but budgets are always limited, and being resourceful comes with the job. On the other hand, as well as obtaining resources, like any industry, theatre creates waste. And at the end of a run of shows, many perfectly usable items end up either being thrown away or, more often, chucked into storage because there aren't suitable channels to do anything else, and you never know when that prop might come in useful again. So we have to be really frugal in order to obtain what we need, and then once it's served its purpose, we don't really know what to do about it. It's as if each theatre maker is working alone. The current options for buying, selling, and hiring items aren't serving the theatre industry as a whole. The arts industry is so good at connecting people, so why aren't we more connected in our purchases? Let's create a tailored online platform specifically designed to benefit each and every one of us. An artist-to-artist marketplace, enabling theatre makers of all kinds to get access to what they need and sell and hire out what they don't. Not on an independent level, but as a nationwide community. A convenient and sustainable solution for sourcing both new and pre-owned costumes, props, technical equipment, and much more. It'll be free to use with no listing fees, and rather than generating profits for big, large global corporations, we can then reinvest those earnings back into the industry. I believe it's important to stress that there is a whole spectrum of people who serve the arts, and this concept needs to serve all of them. There are, of course, those that make a living full-time, but there are also those that earn part-time or seasonally. Those trying to break into the industry, students, amateur dramatics enthusiasts, youth theatre, audience members, and fans. And many of you will resonate with more than one of those industries. And the reason I mention this is they're all valuable. They're all worth supporting. After all, professional companies wouldn't exist without their audience, and that audience is grown from theatre being accessible. Theatre is not accessible if you can't see it, and it's not accessible if you can't make it. It's in the better sharing of resources that we have the opportunity to connect everyone on that spectrum. It will no doubt benefit the largest theatre companies in the UK, but just imagine how it might affect the theatre makers of tomorrow. Instead of ordering that cheap costume shipped in from halfway across the world, they can better locate a small local theatre company to hire it from. Instead of buying yet another dodgy microphone for their student film, you could hire it from a local sound engineer. Let's support each other and put things back into the cycle once we're done. It's great to see the idea of reusing resources filter into the theatre industry, with the National Theatre recently announcing its plans to use new warehouse space to do exactly that. But it's how we can take companies doing this on an independent level and connect them with artists up and down the country that I feel we can really make an impact. And on speaking to theatre companies, the problem that they're facing trying to do this at the moment is just finding the right people to buy what they have to offer. It's amazing how many theatre companies don't actually know each other, even those operating in the same city or the same town. And of course, items in the arts tend to be a little bit unconventional, one of a kind, or for a very specific purpose. So it's essential that we employ a system, not that's currently out there, but one that is designed to really embrace the creativity that we have and recognize its inherent value. Now, the great thing about this project is that it doesn't require a cultural shift or a new mindset. I haven't yet met a theatre company who doesn't want to save money, reduce waste, improve sustainability, and capitalise on its assets. So if you or your organisation would like to be a part of this initiative, then please reach out. I think it's easy to summarise this project as being about reuse and sustainability, and that's great, it's a massive plus, but it's only part of the benefit. If we can be more connected in our purchases, then money spent creating theatre is going back into the pockets of theatre makers. So that's the aim. It's really simple. To create and support a place for transactions to take place from artist to artist, and to continue to help live theatre thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Chloe. Let's check. We've got a roving mic out there. Somebody with a roving mic. We should do. Great. So if you are in the audience and would like to ask a question, please wait for the roving mic to get to you before asking the question so that people online can hear you. Great. We've got a gentleman just behind the gentleman who spoke previously. Please introduce yourself as well. Thank you.
Hi, Alex from Fuel Theatre. Love the idea. Sounds brilliant. Who would run it?
It's a good question. At the moment, a few weeks ago, this was literally just an idea. Since then, it's already gained some interest, and I've started working with web developers and talking to investors. So currently, it will be me running the idea. Who knows? Whatever will serve the industry best is who needs to run it.
Thank you. One more quick question. I'll just check whether we've got anyone online. Okay, we do. We have a question online from Anna Wiseman, who asks, great idea, Chloe. You said it would be free to list and that you'd invest earnings back into the community. How would it make income?
So the idea is that it would, like selling on Vinted, we take a small commission on every purchase just to cover the cost of transaction fees. But we're looking into other ways of actually sourcing income that will help the site run, so we can keep those costs as low as possible. So we're looking at advertisers on the platform, things like that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Chloe.
Thank you.
Great. So the final of our first three big ideas, as I mentioned earlier, is a recorded presentation. It's Sean Dawes, who is presenting on recruitment standards for theatre. Before we start the video, I just want to preface it by saying that for those of you who are not familiar with blockchain, it is a secure database system used for cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. It's a way of storing information that makes it very difficult, even impossible, for that information to be edited or manipulated. I think that's probably important context, and I will let Sean tell you the rest.
Hi, my name is Sean Dawes. Today I'm advocating for an initiative that redefines recruitment within our theatre industry. The aim is to establish a merit-based ecosystem leveraging blockchain technology to bring equality back to hiring practices and education across the UK. This initiative is crucial as we face significant funding cuts in both local economies and in creative and performing arts at the university level. From grassroots organizations to top-tier institutions, such as the National and RSC, we encounter biases in hiring practices that often overlook crucial diversity and disability schemes associated with applicants. Despite receiving substantial public funding, many high-status theater companies have yet to fully embrace policies that ensure equal and fair treatment, which include international graduates. Applicants frequently invest an hour or more completing complex forms, including detailed essays, with no guarantee of fair review. In contrast, even a mere 5 to 10 minute virtual meeting could offer a more genuine and holistic understanding of an applicant's capabilities, which often fails to translate fully on paper. Using a digital ledger system like blockchain will help track the progress of each applicant and provide transparency for equality. On the educational side, there's still a disconnect in cost versus education and academic versus industry, which further widens the gaps between what is taught and the realities of working in the industry. Many graduates find themselves unprepared for entry-level roles, whether on stage, behind the scenes, or in creative and leadership roles. These gaps reflect a systemic issue where the validation of one's skills hinges predominantly on the prestige of their education or personal network. By integrating blockchain, we can reform how industry standards are met in education and revolutionize how qualifications and experience are recognized, ensuring that true talent and hard-earned skills are given the visibility they deserve. This is not merely a plea for fairness, it is a crucial strategy to preserve and enrich the vibrant culture of the UK theatre, ensuring that it remains vibrant, inclusive, and fiercely competitive globally. We aim to build upon initiatives such as Beck2's New Skills Passport and collaborate with projects like Fair Play that address inequality in theatre. Our vision is a future where communities can thrive through stronger educational partnerships and increased collaboration, which allows us to discover and support fresh voices and new talents that are currently hidden or underrepresented. The time for change is now. With blockchain technology providing transparency and validation, we can finally build a theater industry that promotes integrity, inclusivity, and innovation. Let's set new standards and propel our industry into a future where every kind of artist can truly shine. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you, Mark. If you have any questions for Sean, he is on Slido at the moment, live from somewhere else in the world, and you can ask your questions there, and he will attempt to answer them. That can be going on in the background while we proceed. So thank you, everyone. That's the end of our first set of big ideas. We'll have 3 more very shortly, and you will have a chance to vote after that over your lunch break. Great. Thank you very much. Our second Big Ideas session, our last Big Ideas session, I'd like to invite to the stage Crystal Nichols, Joanna Dong, and Andrew Ladd. Great, please take a seat. So I'll invite you up one by one, and you can talk from the plinth. So, brilliant. We're going to start. I think we all know the format of Big Ideas by now, so I won't do the introduction again. We're going to start with Joanna Dong, who is the founder of Performance Infinity, and she will be presenting, and I think this is a subject that the previous panel will be interested in, on transforming theatre touring with 3D printing. Joanna.
So first, thank you very much for this opportunity to sharing my big idea. And I think that before talking about my idea, having a very quick reflection about the panel earlier, I think talking about international touring and talking about touring nationally, I think that's all trip necessary because we plan a very hard time to plan a tour, and we make a lot of effort making this tour, thinking carefully why we're doing this tour. So I think it's very necessary trip, and we also can't afford to having any unnecessary trip, and we can't really afford a helicopter from A and B. So I want to share a little bit about my idea, how exactly I want to do in the near future to make some change regarding what the situation right now. So a couple of weeks ago, I received this open call about sharing the big idea. And it can be not necessarily realistic, so I just draft the idea saying maybe 3D print can make the change of the international touring to making the set 3D print. I can send a picture to the venue in another country, and next day when I arrived, it's already printed for me. So I think that's an idea which when I shared, and later I received an email confirming my involvement in this idea. So I have to make it realistic right now. And the lucky thing is I'm a producer, so producer makes things happen. So I want to share first about what the idea is. So the idea is transforming theater touring through 3D printing. Theater can explore using 3D printing to craft design, eco-friendly sites, reshaping landscape of the theatre touring for more sustainable and imaginative future. So why to do it? Because I feel bored working in the theatre and always repeating what we do in many, many years. And for touring shows from one location to another, we either shipping by boat or by flight. So we're having a lot of interesting story in my past 10 years working in international touring. Like we lost the costumes because of the strike, and we are also being disturbed by the volcano from Iceland, and we also being stopped by the snow in Poland, and we're having a lot of disturbing by touring shows shipping the set from one location to another. So that's suffering a lot previously, even before COVID. But after COVID, you can imagine the inflation of the price. And right now, just a simple example, from Britain to Shanghai, from London to Shanghai, for shipping a 40-inch container is cost 20K plus. So that's a very expensive cost to shipping set from one location to another. And at the same time, we just feel like there are a lot of it's a lot of technology development. Even I wrote the title and summary this idea with ChatGPT. But why in the theater shipping, we're still going through touring, we're still going to the shipping in a very traditional way? So that's a kind of reason we want to making this change of thinking about 3D printing can be a part of way for technology development through involved in international touring in the theater industry. Also, I also want to think a little bit further regarding why. Because right now we are short of funding all the time. We lack of money to doing this thing, making a new stuff, touring the stuff. But why we're not thinking about the other industry? That's why technology leveraging our conversation with another industry to having a cross-industry collaboration. That could be make it happen with the technology involvement, investment, and to testing this idea and to make a change of our industry. At the same time, I'm thinking about the sponsorship. So there are many commercial printing, 3D printing companies. Maybe they can make a commercial sponsorship to international or national theater touring to make a little bit contribution through commercial perspective for the touring in the theater industry. I also thinking about the involvement of the government investment, thinking about the zero energy, green future, all these policies from the government perspective of the big picture. So that's something which they can look in our small theater industry touring sector. That could be the lab for people to testing ideas and to bring a little bit of change into the creative industry. So the next session will be how exactly we can make it happen. So I'm thinking we are lucky enough to practice in London, and we're having a lot of brilliant people studying in different academic and educational organizations, universities, research organizations. So many of them, they are doing research about 3D printing in the science perspective. Maybe that's a way to collaborate. At the same time, we have a lot of technology incubator. So that could be the idea to try with some startup business. Some investment can support those ideas to supporting in creative industry. At the same time, I'm thinking that's a good opportunity to attract young people to get involved in our industry in the future, because that could be create a new job in the theater sector of in the future, the designer, set designer can be 3D printing set designer. And many people can using the new technology to developing the possible creative way to interpret with the traditional theater making. So I think that's everything which I'm thinking based on this topic, and to think about the realistic way of making it happen. At the same time, I also want to say how touring theater is sustainable, because sustainable is really not talking about a thing in front of you. We're talking about in the long term. And we're making a show, making it perfectly. It deserves to be seen by more people. And if it's a good show, having a long life, it's sustainable itself. Also, I'm a person from China, and 20 years ago, that's the first time I seen a show touring internationally in China from a British company called Bland Summit. And that's the piece make me want to be a theater person. And right now, I'm talking about my idea, changing the British industry as a Chinese person. I'm thinking that's already a kind of future, and hopefully you can support my big idea. Thank you.
Let's try. There we go. Thank you very much, Joanna. What we're going to do, because we're running a little bit behind time, is I'm going to copy Amanda, and we are going to have questions on Slido. So if I could ask all three of you afterwards to pop onto Slido, if you've got any problems, I can show you how to do it in the lunch break, and answer anyone's questions from the room. And we're just going to go straight through the presentations now. So next up, we have Crystal Nichols, who is a wellness coach and is presenting her idea for wellness coaching on theatre shows.
Good afternoon. My name is Crystal Nichols, and I spent over 10 years as a professional dancer, with 6 of those years performing as an ensemble dancer and Sarabi cover in The Lion King. I am now a health and performance coach, specializing in helping West End performers master the tools they need to thrive on and off stage. My big idea is that theatre productions should incorporate a wellness coaching program during the cast change or rehearsal process. I believe this is the key to helping theatre workers avoid burnout, improve performances, and find joy on and off stage. According to a 2022 report led by the Centre for Cultural Value, the UK's cultural sector is at an inflection point and facing imminent burnout. It goes on to suggest that we urgently adopt regenerative modes of working. The directive is clear. We can no longer carry on business as usual. Unfortunately, burnout has become an occupational hazard, and the problem starts with our training institutions. Theatre graduates are underprepared for how to look after their physical and mental well-being, leaving them vulnerable to burnout. Performers in particular are artistic athletes. This means they have the same energy requirements as many athletes in professional sports, while being in the unique position of having to balance those requirements with their artistry. Unfortunately, education providers spend all their time, energy, and resources on nurturing artistic expression while neglecting the athletic demands required of theatre workers. The truth is, it doesn't matter how talented or dedicated you are if you can't sustain 8 shows a week. Throughout my own theatre career, I struggled with constant injury, anxiety, overwhelm, and burnout with very little support from the industry. But this isn't just an individual problem. Ultimately, burnout threatens the very future and cultural legacy of theatre. If we don't act now to preserve the well-being of our artists and practitioners, this industry risks losing its greatest talent. The current extent of support for professionals in theatre productions is primarily in the form of physiotherapy and counselling. Wellness coaching can enhance these mediums as it is a preventative, strengths-based approach that allows individuals to explore their wellness goals and ambitions and then achieve them. While counselling focuses primarily on mental health and physiotherapy treats physical issues, wellness coaching takes an integrative mind-body approach that empowers individuals to cultivate positive habits throughout all dimensions of well-being, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, or social. During coaching, individuals are supported to consider, plan, and test out what they can do to strengthen and maintain their well-being. I have developed a 6-week wellness coaching program for the dancers of Matthew Bourne's New Adventures, which I have been implementing now for just over a year. Throughout this program, we focus on implementing positive lifestyle habits to help the dancers thrive by using science-backed techniques such as optimizing nutrition for energy, stamina, recovery, and reducing injury risk, mental skills to manage stress, build emotional resilience and mental toughness, mindset development to boost self-confidence and self-belief, establishing a robust self-care routine, establishing a healthy work-life balance. As a result of implementing this program, the dancers have reported feeling more confident in their bodies and their food choices, improved energy and stamina, faster recovery between performances, more confidence and self-belief, improved quality of performances, improved company morale, and feeling better equipped to handle the stresses that come with performing. If I receive support, I would create a similar program for theatre productions, which could be implemented during the cast change or rehearsal process. This would include workshops, company coaching sessions, and resources tailored to meet the physical, mental, emotional, and nutritional needs of the company. In conclusion, implementing wellness coaching programs for theatre productions isn't just about supporting the health of individuals. It's about creating a cultural shift within our industry. It's time we understand that wellness and artistic excellence are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they're inextricably linked. When we invest in holistic resources like wellness coaching that allow theatre professionals to thrive as whole humans, we create an environment where creativity can truly flourish. Burnout, injured, and overwhelmed people cannot produce their best work. My vision is for a community that honors both the art and the artist. Let's make wellness the standard, breaking the burnout cycle for good. Who's with me? Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Crystal. And our final big idea of the day is from ticketing expert Andrew Ladd, who is presenting on publishing theatre sales figures.
Ticketing expert. I'm the last session before lunch, so I'm just going to start by saying Slido. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to talk very quickly. My name is Andrew. I do currently work at a digital agency where I work with all of our arts and ticketing clients. Before that, I worked for a West End marketing agency you've probably heard of. It's down the road. It's above a McDonald's. And before that, I worked mostly in venue box offices for many years. But today, my big idea has been inspired by something completely different, which is my side hustle as a published novelist. As you might imagine, as a novelist, I occasionally get statements from my publisher telling me how many copies I've sold. I wish I could stand here and tell you it's millions. It's more like a solid matinee in the Gillian Lynn. There's no point in me lying about it to you, because anyone in this room could look up my sales figures if they really wanted to. You could look up every sale of every book that every major publisher has ever sold in this country, going back years. This is where theatre people usually stare at me in disbelief. Once I was explaining this to someone and they actually gasped. If I work for HarperCollins and I want to see how well Penguin's marquee title sold last week, I can just do that. And people do. The publishing industry, they're constantly checking each other's sales figures. And it's not just publishing, it's cinema, it's music, it's museums, it's sport. If you want to know how much Dune 2 grossed 2 days ago, or how many tickets Nicki Minaj has sold to date on her current tour, or how many people attended the Royal Armouries in Leeds in June 2019, you can look all of that up on the internet. I did it yesterday. So that's my big idea. The theatre industry should start publishing their sales figures in the same way. It was great to hear Hannah say earlier that SALT is already looking at building a better data center, but I'm not talking about the sort of aggregate figures that SALT publishes or what Hannah was talking about with collecting more data to use it for better collective action. I'm talking about building a shared, totally transparent repository of granular, week by week, up-to-date sales figures for every show and venue that anyone can access. So why should we do this? Well, for one thing, it's something that everyone secretly wants anyway. I've worked with theatres in some capacity for 20 years, and the one constant is that everyone always wants to know how their competitors are doing. That's because there are lots of real, sensible reasons for this kind of transparency. There's short-term business value in knowing how your competitors are doing, because it lets you make better commercial decisions. Does your rival across town have a full auditorium because they have more demand, or because they've sold most of their tickets at a discount? Should you panic about your sluggish on sale, or is everyone having a bad month? There's also long-term business value in knowing how your competitors have done in the past. Maybe you're considering a new production of Streetcar. With sales data about every other Streetcar production in the last 10 years, you'd be able to create better income forecasts and a better pricing model, not just for any production of Streetcar, but for your 4-week run of a star-led Streetcar in a 600-seat venue in October. With those better income forecasts, you can set more sensible budgets, and with a better pricing model, you can maximize your revenue. So no matter how the reviews land, you have a better chance of breaking even. All this probably sounds obvious. This is what a lot of theatre producers already use their data for already, if they have the data. And that brings me to the third reason for publishing our sales figures, which is it will increase diversity and innovation in the industry. Right now, the big established players have a structural advantage over newcomers and smaller venues or producers because they have so much more data. They're better able to de-risk what they do, and that means that those newcomers aren't as free to take creative risks without succumbing to much larger financial ones. And because these smaller players ultimately feed some of the best new work to the big established ones, putting them at this disadvantage is cutting off the nose to spite the face. If everyone had access to the same data, newcomers would be able to more easily break into the industry. More diversity, more innovation, and as a result, more audiences. Now, before I go, I've been asked to answer 2 questions. Is it practical, and what would need to change for it to happen? Is it practical? Absolutely. All these other creative industries I talked about at the beginning already do it. It's a well-oiled machine. And for that matter, my old colleagues at the marketing agency above McDonald's, they already do it too for all the productions that they work with. What needs to change is a mindset. You know, I ran this idea past a few of my friends before I came here today, and they all had the same reaction, which was, oh, that's a great idea, but it would never work in theatre. But we won't know unless we try, and we won't try unless people stop believing it could never work or that it's not worth doing. It is worth doing, and I think most people in the room here would acknowledge, because we've talked about it a lot today, that there's real value in making data-driven decisions. But if there's some value in making decisions based on your own data, there is exponentially more value in making decisions based on everyone's together. As Hannah said earlier, theatre is all about collaboration. In challenging times, we succeed by walking hand in hand with our peers, not by trying to sneak past them in an ugly race to the finish. So let's find a way to be transparent with our sales figures and give the whole industry a new tool to thrive.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Great. That is our final big idea. We've had 6. They're all very, very different. This is Slido's big moment. So over your lunch break, you can vote on your favourite idea. You only get 1 vote, so use it wisely. If you're watching on demand, as they say on Strictly, please don't vote, as your vote will not be counted. I will report back on the winner at the end of the day. Let's all go get some lunch. Thank you for your attention.